What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday morning. We are going live here. You're at day 6 of our 30-day cold calling challenge. And we're just waiting for this to pop up so I can enable it for everyone to see. Hope you guys are doing awesome. We're going to bang out this hour of calls, and we're going to head on over to family party. Wasn't kidding when I mentioned about a busy week this week. All right, so let's just get things moving. There we go. Okay, here we go. Public, everyone should see. Appreciate you guys hopping on. I'm sure y'all got busy lives. It's the weekend. But as I'm committed to you guys, we are going to do 1 hour cold calling live. Today, we're actually going to try to rip through more calls today. If a voicemail pops up, I'll leave a voicemail. But if not, even though that's our typical standard operating procedure, try to get the call volume in, we may just go ahead and skip through those. So let's go ahead, dive in. We are looking for motivated sellers. And obviously we have to get through a lot of no's. A lot of people are not interested to go ahead and find that right party. So let's go ahead, have at it. Let's see how many we get in today. All right, first no answer. I think I got the system down here ironed out so we could okay, plugging away. On to the next. All right, I was actually hoping that one would have had a voicemail pop up. The Zillow link showed house that could use some work. And if it's any reflection in its current condition, my guess is there might be some motion there. So no worries. Keep plugging away. Recent sale on that one as well. So I mentioned this yesterday, depending on when these leads were sourced. And obviously we have quite a few in our system. So we may do a campaign today. We may have part of that follow-up campaign 2 days from now, depending on if it's an SMS or a cold calling campaign. But we have a lot of leads in the system. So who we called, let's say yesterday, today, we may not get back to them, again, depending on our campaign and our follow-ups, but it may not, we may not reach out to them again to, a couple weeks down the road, or even months if it's, was a initial campaign, it didn't get reloaded for whatever reason. Nonetheless, I want to check, make sure that they're not sold while we're calling them. listed under contract. Let's keep it moving. We want off market properties not listed with agents. If they are listed, we would be reaching out to their listing agent, not the homeowner. Hello, Tina. My name's Ryan, and I was calling about a property I believe you own on Cleveland. And I'm a cash buyer. I'm looking for properties in the area. Just figured I'd drop you a line, see if you had any interest in selling. If so, do me a favor, give me a call when you get a chance. You can reach me anytime on my cell phone. That number is 973 577 5046. Once again, 973 577 5046. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Okay, so if it does pop up, I'll leave a quick one. But for all intents and purposes, to get through more calls today, I probably won't be leaving voicemails on everyone's machine. So, okay, that was our eighth call. Still looking for people that want to sell their home as is for cash. As I mentioned yesterday, there's a variety of types of prospect lists. We typically look for those with underlying motive. Okay, lots of no answers this morning. This is where dialers do come in handy. So you see how I'm manually dialing. The power dialers, that'll go ahead, blast out a lot of calls. As soon as someone picks up, then it connects you. Do-do-do-do-do. So if you guys are just joining, we're doing 30 days, an hour a day of cold calling. And we are looking to get at least one deal in 30 days. You can get one real estate deal. What impact would that have? For many people, it would change your life. So I'm here with you guys for the next 24 days, an hour per day, cold calling potentially motivated sellers looking for a real estate deal. 13 calls in. No conversations yet. Right now, calling absentee owners. Absentee meaning this is their second home or not their primary residence. That one's sold as well. So again, as I mentioned yesterday, when we're doing volume, you are going to find some leads that do slip through the cracks that don't fall under your prospect list. So for example, we would or typically filter out recent sales. And I'm seeing a couple of those in here. Hey, Patrice, my name is Brian Paliukaitis, and I was calling about a property owned on West State Street. I'm looking for properties in the area. I'm a cash buyer and I buy as is. Just curious if you had any interest in selling. If so, I'd love to talk to you further. You can reach me anytime on my cell phone. That number is 973 577 5046. Once again, 973 577 5046. Thanks. Talk to you soon. All right. Same voicemail pretty much each time. That's kind of similar to when you're having these conversations with homeowners. I mean, this follows this information you do need to get. All right, moving a little faster than yesterday because we're in the home office, not working off the little tablet and a little nook. It'd still be nice to get some homeowners on the phone, see if we make a good fit for them. All right, so we'll tag that accordingly. And in our system, if we have a backup number, that should get substituted, and that way we can recall them. Little delay here. All right, 17 calls in, past 15 minutes. Just waiting for this next record to load. It seemed to be happening a little bit yesterday as well. Come on. All right, let's try something else here. So the system that we're using is very heavy with automations, workflows. It's also a rebadged version of Go High Level. And I can imagine with all the triggers, workflows, campaigns, it can cause delays and lagging issues. So see, we can bring up a new window, keep this moving forward. All right, so we're going to reload that same list. What I might do if we're getting really, really limited answer rates, we may go ahead, load another list, perhaps one of our follow-up campaigns, so you guys get an idea of what that sounds like. but I want to get through most of these. This was a new list that was loaded in earlier this week. All right. So the size of this one was small, only 336 records. We usually try to do campaigns a minimum of about 1,500 if possible. Okay. Still got plenty to call, at least for the first round. That's back up. Ooh, another rough area. This is a rough area. So I'm not sure if that was the right number. Maybe there's a business that owns a variety of properties. That was on a rougher street. Not too upset that they didn't answer. There is some major lag going on here. Bear with me, guys. I don't know what's going on with the system. Incredible. All right, let's see. While that's loading, I may try to populate another potential list, so maybe we could switch back and forth, but it doesn't load the next record. That's pretty frustrating. All right, so let's go through our, again, in the system I'm using, there's a lot of different views here, a lot of ways you can extract certain kind of leads. So we have, I think, like 20,000 or some odd records that we need to go through here. Let me see. All righty. Hang tight, guys. I'm going to try to load some more of these so we don't keep running into this problem. But right now, this is just not loading anything. If I have to, I'll switch to our CRM. Our CRM contains leads from all the way back over 10 years, believe it or not. And we talked to them, obviously, on and off since probably 2011. All right, so if that continues, let me exit out fully. So we have to, we'll go ahead, we'll do some follow-ups. And again, you'll hear me calling homeowners that we've spoken to maybe 5, 6+ years ago. Believe it or not, we still get deals from those sellers. Too bad I can't pause this. This is some major disaster. So, hey, case in point, right? There's, as you guys heard me, this being the worst week to start this. There's always challenges, as you can see, even with the system that's usually working pretty well. Here we are, throwing a wrench into our hour call. So we got to keep plugging away, pushing through. Let's go. Here we go. We got it. All right. Does anyone else feel like that at times? Universe just testing you, seeing how much you'll withstand before you give up. That's the problem. For me, it's my stubbornness. I don't know. Whatever it is within me, I just can't quit. I might vent a lot, if you ask my wife. Once the initial venting stage is done, it's a disease. I don't know what it is. I just cannot quit. So being tested right now. All right. This tells me there's good news coming down the pipe. Are you willing to tough it out to see those results? Oh, shoot. All right, at least we're back in action. Let's see if this next lead is loading good. All right. Nope. And he recently sold that, and it was in a very rough area, so not not too keen on those. So, again, when we go through these, we could filter those out. We'll tighten up our filters on the front end, but the more volume you'll do, the more error rate, the higher error rate you typically see. A lot of extra clicks not needed. Gita. Low answer rates. It is the weekend, was a holiday week. But what we'll do is we're going to compare the metrics. And once we have 30 days of cold calling in, that should give us enough data to give us good direction. How many offers do we have to make, etc. Cold calling is not for the faint of heart, but it does work if you can put in the amount of required calls needed. Lots of voicemails. As I said, I usually leave voicemails, but I want to get through more calls today. I could share with you guys some quality conversations. So for now, we'll try to skip through a bunch of those. "25 minutes in, no calls yet." It's all right. You might get 10 no answers, and then you get 2 motivated sellers. All righty. Come on, let's pump through these. No answer, no problem. Run on to the next. I was looking for Alfonso. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I was looking for Alfonso de la Cruz. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Okay. So no worries. If you have the wrong number, mark it as such. Call on to the next. In our case, tag it, wrong number. If we have a backup number, that'll repopulate, and we'll call them. I was excited. We almost had somebody who wanted to sell us their home. It's all right. We'll get in touch with Alfonso shortly. All right, we're doing decent call volume, but we need quality conversations. That's the true goal. All right, I would have butchered their first name. That was like two names combined in one. I don't know if it was their last name. All right. All righty, 25-ish calls, give or take. Almost 30 minutes in here. It is Saturday afternoon. If you guys are just joining in, we're doing 30 days, hour a day cold calling, looking for motivated sellers so we can get a deal underway in 30 days or less through the method of cold calling. Method that a lot of people don't want to do, but it does work. So we're here to share. So just to share with you guys a little something, answer rates change depending on the market, right? If it's a seller's market and there's not a lot of inventory and properties are selling very, very quickly, in which case the homeowners could have more options available to them. They could sell properties with doing less, if any, work. Makes it easier for them to unload properties, in which case we may see, on our end, deals are harder to come by. So basically our response rates through, direct mail, SMS, phone calls, etc., will be less. We have to do more volume to do the same type of, to get the same type of inventory that we had previously. Now on the flip side, in a buyer's market, you'll have a lot more motivated sellers, have a lot more answer rates, etc. But it's all relative. So Right now, in most areas, it's still a very strong seller's market, especially in the areas that we're targeting. Inventory is extremely low. Not only that, they're probably getting, as you guys have witnessed in previous calls, that they're getting tons of calls and, I'm not looking to sell my house, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, we're just looking for the right time, the right person. And as I mentioned before, I like to fish in other ponds. If everyone is targeting, let's say, listed properties or foreclosures, I'd rather go ahead and reach out to, let's say, maybe those that were, water shutoff or probates or tax delinquents, lesser populated, saturated areas in which we're more, likely to get a potential deal. So right now we're just dialing absentee owners. And I was talking yesterday about different levels of motivation. And so what we can do is if this seems to have a very, very low answer rate, maybe we'll shift gears, look for some other higher motivated seller lists and see what that comes about. So let's just go ahead, hammer through a few more of these. Okay. So it's a good idea to run the metrics for a variety of reasons. Obviously, it's going to tell us what marketing channels are working. But also, like, as you're experiencing now, let's say over the next 30 days, Saturday gets barely any calls and, Wednesday shows a higher call volume. Well, then just go ahead and you could adjust your hours accordingly. Obviously, for the 30-day calling session, we're just doing it daily, regardless, holidays included. But that's the reason why you're going to want to look at the metrics so you could see, okay, where's our efforts best being spent? What type of, so for example, if let's say we get 5 leads out of this particular list and no leads out of another list, well, why continue to put marketing dollars in this channel? Let's just focus, double down on, this other channel. So that's the idea. So let's keep it moving. Like to get through this list at least once, but we'll go ahead and switch gears if needed. Okay, we're skipping some of the voicemails now. Again, typically I do leave a voicemail message. Not everyone calls back. Most don't. That's okay. Alrighty, so this one I see that was recently listed, actually just about 2 weeks ago on Zillow. It was listed for sale by owner. House looks in okay shape. From the numbers I'm seeing here, this is not something that would make sense for us. However, if I did get them on the phone, conversation may go like, hey, how's it going? I see you just listed your property. Have you had any showings? Have you had any offers? Gauge motivation from there. Typically speaking, for sale by owners are not really motivated. They're typically listing because they don't want to pay, or listing for sale by owner, also known as FSBO, because they don't want to pay the commissions to the agent. Needless to say, I think the stats as far as those that list for sale by owner that eventually list with an agent is something like 70 plus, maybe even 80 percent actually don't sell and then end up listing with an agent. What are those metrics nowadays with a hot market? Not entirely sure, but I still think it's pretty high up there. And again, his price points does not seem to coincide with what true market value is. So even in a hot market, if it's too high, it's going to sit, and that's in essence, when they end up relisting it, depending on how much work they want to do. So that's one we're going to skip on. "36 minutes in. I think we got about 30-something calls. Lots of no answers. That's okay. As long as you set the expectations that, hey, one hang up or one no answer is just one step. As long as you can stay committed and continue to plug away, it's just a matter of time. So that's our intent for the next 30 days. Alrighty. Like I said, I usually leave voicemails. I want to get a little more call volume in today. So we're going to skip through those. Pretty much the same voicemail each time. If you watched any of the previous videos from this week, sounds almost like a broken record, but that's a good business, right? One that's systemized, one that's boring, one that follows. Must be a busy Saturday for a lot of people. Again, these are landlines, so we don't expect as high of an answer rate if people are not home, obviously. Maybe that was a forward to voicemail. That is also a potential challenge, as you guys know, when you're getting out-of-state phone numbers and you don't recognize them, especially with a lot of spam going on. A lot of these numbers I'm calling right now are out-of-state numbers, so they may see this, New Jersey number and think it's spam. All right, I'm going to try to shift gears here real quick. Let's see if we could populate another campaign or perhaps some follow-ups. Let's see if we got any of those. All right, nothing loaded just yet, but let me get creative here. See if I can do this without wasting too much time. So we have a lot of pipelines, as I mentioned before, and a lot of different records. They're tagged accordingly. The list, the location, and things of that nature. So we can extract based off our campaign. So I'm looking for certain records that may have reached back out to us. Maybe we didn't get a chance to speak with them, to follow up back with them. But I'm going to try to load some of those. We may have a better shot at getting them on the phone. So let me just try to load a couple of these. Bear with me. I'm doing this on the fly. This is usually all pre-populated, done ahead of time. All right, so there's a lot of lists. And so far, none of them loaded. All right. So unfortunately, that's not going to work. I'm going to continue for the duration of this. What we'll do is I'll load for tomorrow. We'll go ahead. We'll have another subset campaign. That'll vary up the conversations so you can hear the follow-ups as opposed to the initial call. Initial call, we're just gathering information, verifying information if we've already spoken to them, or if we see that it's somewhat of a recent updated Zillow record. So I'll incorporate that as part of the conversation, just verifying, okay, Zillow says 3 bed, 1 bath. Is that, did you make any improvements? Oh, it's still 3 beds, 1 bath. Okay, great. Looks like it needed a lot of work. Is that still the condition? Oh, you've made improve. Okay, gotcha. So we're just verifying, and what we'll do is we'll take all the information, run our numbers, and then get back to them with an offer, typically in 24 hours or less. Busy Saturday. Busy. And also going back on the metrics, the more data you have, the better. So for example, maybe Saturday right now during lunchtime is not a good time to call, but maybe Saturday after 5 o'clock is an amazing time to call. I recall when my assistants, my VAs were calling during the week, seeing very little call volume. When they made that slight transition to, calling at later hours or calling at sometimes in the weekends, those people that they were unable to get a hold of, they were able to get a hold of at that time. So again, having that information, having that data to reflect back on enables us to make better decisions. So yeah, that's not required up front. That's something that you do as you progress. I think we know that person. So enough, this list seems to have some decent amount of landlords that we've done business or aware of. So lots of recent sales I'm seeing as well. And the reason why I say that is even though it's in the past, let's say 6 months, 4 months, usually we're looking for people that have owned properties no less than 5 years and ideally around 10 years, depending on the list. So if it is a rather recent sale, unless there's some other reason why I have some major. The good news side of things, we're fluent. We're getting calls in. We have the cadence. The bad news is nobody's home or no one's answering. see how many. Wow, 45 minutes in. 45. We got 15 to go. Still confident we'll get at least somebody on the phone today. Somebody that needs to sell. So any of you guys that have been following so far, not an eventful hour here, and that's this is real stuff, right? If we're using a dialer, it'd be a little more exciting. I'm trying to keep this in check as far as those that are starting out to kind of closely resemble the way you guys would be doing it, not having all the tools, giving that advantage, etc. So I'm just kind of plugging away manually here. There's obviously a little more effort, less call volume will go out, and hey, at the end of the day, some days you're going to have a high call answer rate, talk to a lot, have good conversations. Other days you're going to have, low answer rate that we're seeing now. The key is, and I was explaining this during the week, at least for me, was just keeping the consistency going. I always thought of like, hey, even if I spoke to a homeowner, this is back in the day when I was door knocking, even if they no thank you, this and that, but as long as it was just somewhat progressing where I felt like I was moving forward. So every conversation that I had with a homeowner, I was getting better. I was learning. Every phone call that I made, I was getting better. And that's essentially what we're doing, right? I haven't done cold calling in years. So again, bumping along, but even from this week, just seeing, okay, just from going through the reps, going through the motions, you get more comfortable. Again, once you iron out some basics, as you hear me leaving voicemails, it's very simple. That's your system. That's pretty much what you or your team is going to follow. And then it's just a matter of putting in what's needed. So back in the day, it may have meant that you had to make 100 calls to land that first deal. Hey, it's a hot market, and cold calling might be saturated, in which case maybe it takes 200, maybe it takes 500. We'll know once we run our metrics, but there's a lot of factors involved. And, listen, you could pivot accordingly. Let's just say after we get through these 300 calls, we see that this was a very, very low answer rate, not many motivated sellers. Okay, well, let's look at our other campaigns. Were they more motivated? Did we have a higher answer rate? As I mentioned earlier in this call, hey, if it makes sense, go ahead and pivot, stop funneling marketing dollars and efforts in this channel, double down, focus on this channel, and keep moving from there. A big avenue which we've used a lot was SMS, and unfortunately texting right now is going through a lot of challenges, in which case, hey, let's pivot, let's double down on the cold calling. Hey, maybe our answer rates are less. Well, then let's just go ahead and figure out how we can make twice the amount of calls. So for someone that's been in business, you can make that decision. Okay, do we need a power dialer to go ahead? A power dialer to go ahead and help assist making up for those calls, or do I have to bring on somebody to go ahead and manually make them to increase our call volume? So again, as I was describing yesterday, it might be easy to get discouraged. You hear people that have done and proven to themselves and others that this is doable. You may be starting out and saying, hey, I hear all you guys telling me this. Ryan, I see you doing this stuff. That doesn't work for me, or I'm in a different market, whatever it may be. At the end of the day, all this stuff works. It's just a matter of putting in the required time. And most people, unfortunately, do not. I'd anticipate that probably 90% or better, if they were going through each day as I'm going through now and sharing with you guys, if they didn't get that immediate win, that immediate gratification, I believe many people would have fallen off. Even myself, my family right now is at a family party. Of course, I'd rather be doing that. And as most people, However, I made a commitment, as I mentioned, and I'm dedicated to put in the hour a day, regardless, holidays and all. So I feel that when you have that mindset that I'm not going to quit no matter what, that you will succeed in the long run. Just matters if you can go ahead and outlast, do what's required, outlast all the negatives, outlast all the no's, all the no answers, knowing that there is that golden nugget waiting for you. Okay, so really quick, we're experiencing another delay here. Got about 10 minutes left. I want to get those in here. Looks like intermittent issues with this system today. So let's go ahead. If this doesn't load the other list, it may have to pivot real fast. I'm sorry, load the next record. Love this system, technology, but it has issues like anything else. All right, waiting for this to populate again. Any day now. Any day. So we made up some time home and getting being able to be a little more fluent with the system, but we're obviously losing time here with this delay. That's just miraculous. All right, slow loading here. This is not on my computer side. This is definitely on their end, just because there's other sites that are working properly. Constant fight, the constant battle of how bad do you want it. All right, so loaded that record. It's not loading everything. Give me a second, guys. Come on. All right, let's do this. Couple of steps I got to hop through here. Let's make sure we're not going to call the same people that I just called today. All right, there's some new people. All right, let's try that. Did we pick the lucky winners? V, the person that needs to sell their house. Back in action, park it. Okay. That sounded like a forward to voicemail. All right, so some of these look like local numbers. Maybe we'll get a better answer rate. Okay, let's get all these bad numbers out of the way. All these non-motivated sellers. Quicker we get through them, quicker we talk to somebody we can help. $55 minutes in. We got plenty of calls out, but no answers. So it's not just about call volume. That's just one part of it. All right, that was another recent sale as well. Da, 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 da. Hmm. All right. I feel like I got rejected today. A silent rejection. Quiet Saturday. I think everyone's out at soccer games, the beach. You're going to take notes. Saturday in July, afternoon. Might not be the best time to call listening. That would have been one challenging name. I don't even know if Rajes Warario. Don't make fun of my Spanglish. It's been ages since I've had Spanish. All right. We'll get you in the future. And you could coach me on how to say your name properly. Trying to bang out a couple more before we wrap up. See how many calls we got in. 53. That's probably our highest, but also our worst answer rate. I think we had one person answer. I don't really think that was a wrong number. So for all intents and purposes, it seemed like almost a zero answer rate for today. I was looking for a Daniel. All right, we're just wrapping up. Let me get one more in here. One more. One last call. And that is a wrap. So that's a first, right? We're 5 days in. We had pretty much one call that was wrong number. So if I'm being honest with you guys, I'm a little disappointed. And, that's just how it is. I'm a little on the disappointed side because I want something to be able to share with you guys, some good calls, some good quality content. But I wanted to share that with you because you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. And, again, to kind of reiterate on that carrot and stick kind of mentality, when I first started in this business and plugging in and putting in countless hours a day and, seeing some days like you just witnessed of just putting in a lot of effort, putting in the motions that you're told, putting in the actions that everyone is talking about to get the results. You're not seeing the results. But again, that will come with it because if everyone tried and succeeded at the first time they tried something, well, everyone would be doing everything they wanted in essence, right? So you got to plow through. You got to take the good and the bad. And today is just more motivation to just go ahead and kick it up a notch for tomorrow. I'll give you an example. A couple of days ago before we went for Kalahari, it was blazing hot. I didn't want to run, but I knew how to get it in. And I'm not a runner by trade. I'm a swimmer. So I get my once a week in, and, that keeps me somewhat where I need to be in the running aspect of things. So I was right down the street here, blazing hot, and literally my body did not want to run. By the time I got to the end of this street, just this street, I was like, I got to turn around. This is not going to be a good run. But as always, and as using all this as an example, I was like, you know what? That's all the more reason why I have to do this run. So I continued on, and actually it's just shy of a 5-mile run. And it's here in White Meadow Lake, very hilly. And actually one of the hills that I have by the house that I first bought, currently rented, is just crazy hard. And the way I tell people is that once you do that, once you get to the top, if you can get to the top, your gums will hurt. That's how intense it is. So literally running up that hill, barely making it. And if you ever see older people, 70s or 80s, when they're running, I'm not making fun of them, but they're working real hard and they maybe don't seem like they're moving anywhere. Well, that's what I felt like even halfway through. I literally felt like I could put my head on somebody's mailbox and pass out instantly. And so literally just getting slaughtered by the heat, really trying to zigzag to get any type of shade I could, and just completely getting annihilated by this run. But again, using the mentality and remembering to when I first started out in business. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because I feel business and working out is all interrelated. How I do my runs is kind of how I do my business and vice versa. So it was that commitment I had to myself that I didn't care if I was going to crawl to the front of my steps, I was not going to walk one step. And needless to say, all I was focusing on, all I could think about was getting to the house and just passing out literally on the steps if I could make it in. But in my head, I really didn't feel like I was going to make it, but just one more step, just, to that next house, to the next stop sign, and just keep pushing, and knowing that, hey, there's going to be victory at the end of this, even though every ounce of my body wanted to quit. So needless to say, I did finish. I did not walk. Priya had some words to tell me, thinking it may have done more harm than good, but nonetheless, I did it. Good, bad, didn't matter. I put my head down and I made sure that I was committed to finishing it. So likewise, you may have those rough days, those slow days in which you're not getting the results that you want. But I know that if you do it, you put in the reps, you put in that time, you put in the actions, and eventually things will come about. So I think at the end, or at the grand scheme of things, I think that run, I got a lot more out of it, even beyond the physical. It's the mental toughness, and that's what you need in this. So I'll leave off on that note. Wish it was a more eventful session for you guys, but I'm giving it to you real. Sure, I could hop on. I could blast through with a dialer and some other stuff. Needless to say, Joe actually had 3 leads from yesterday. I'm not counting those as part of our actual 30-day challenge here. So I'm committed to make sure that we're going to get at least one wholesale deal underway. And again, that will be prove to you guys that this is doable and that you guys can do it too. I'm sure you hear that all the time, but shit, if I can do it, and there's a lot of you guys out there a lot smarter, a lot more everything than I am, well, I think you guys could go ahead and exceed where I've gone and beyond. So appreciate you joining me in the journey. We will see you tomorrow, Sunday. We're committed to 30 days of cold calling, an hour a day, getting at least one deal, change your life in 30 days or less.